What did he do in Shedaloogoo? What did he say in Shedaloogoo? What would you do in Shedaloogoo? What would you say in Shedaloogoo? Broadcasting from a real shed in England.
Rescued from the aliens and back with the 6th and final episode of Shedaloogoo. Promises to be half an hour of madcap, but of course there's not a lot of time left, so we're going to try and fit in as much as possible in this, the very final episode. So straight away we're going to go over to you.
Over to you, over to you, over to you in Shegaloo. Over to you, over to you, over to you in Shegaloo.
Thank you to everybody that got in touch during this series of Shedaloogoo, and got some faithful followers. Of course, the number one fan being Gail Dalton, who would faithfully keep her eyes open for Golly. He might turn up in this episode, he might not. And Gail said after episode 5, she said, another out of this world episode. It appears you have been body snatched by fun-loving aliens, and I hope you return in good enough time for episode 6. Well, thank goodness I'm here. She saw Golly last time, and she said that she thought that his blatant appearance was for her benefit after not spotting him the episode before. She said, I know the actress in Who Am I, but will refrain from telling so that others can guess. Please, 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 Mr. Alien, can we have our Shedaloogoo presenter back? Please, please, please. Well, it worked for the Spud send. Shed Spud? There's a bit too much SS stuff there. Meanwhile, Martin on Twitter said, I know that tune, in Ghost that tune. I just can't tell you the name. This job has turned my head to mush. Or is it watching Shedaloogoo? I've seen Golly doing a link to the aliens. Spot on, well done, Martin. And on YouTube, Sleeping Hobbit said, the ghost part had me in stitches. Meanwhile, Denise on Facebook said, eek! I was hypnotised by the ghost. Was almost like having an experience with a shaman. I've never had an experience with a shaman. If you have, show us your shaman. And finally, Chili Davenport said, brilliant episode, the alien invasion had me in stitches. Well, since you were all talking about the ghost and aliens, it's time to ghost that tune. Can you name this song that the ghost, our very friendly ghost, is screeching, humming?
Meet the really happy ghost in Ghost That Tune. Who am I?
You've got 1 minute, starting from now, to work out who am I. My middle name is Rose Beatrice. My last name was Cooper, but I'm known by a different name. I was born on the 2nd of May 1985. I'm professionally known by another name. I'm an English singer, songwriter, actress and television presenter. I am the daughter of a famous television star comedian. My mother was a producer known as Alison Owen. I left school when I was 15 and concentrated on performing and improving my composition skills. I've released albums and charted at #1. I was first spotted when I released music on MySpace, and that publicly resulted in me getting onto BBC Radio 1 with a contract with Regal Recordings. I had a #1 album and single in the UK. I have a brother called Alfie, which is also one of my songs. I've been nominated for many awards. I retired from music. Oh, then I came back. Did you work out who I am? Oh, if you're from the UK, it's easy peasy. If you're not, well, a little bit harder, I think. Well, that has concluded Who Am I? I'm moving on, time's running out, I'll tell you, and I can't even find. Right, let's have a bit of this.
Shedaloogoo.
Our very final Shedaloogoo has this from BuzzFeed. A US park ranger named Roy C Sullivan held the record for being struck by lightning the most times, having been struck and surviving 7 times. 7 times between 1942 and 1977. And sadly he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in 1983. Our very, very final fact: did you know that you spend 7 years of your life in the bathroom? That has been Shedaloogoo. And well, we've also enjoyed getting out of the shed from time to time, and it's been so hard to fit all of these out and abouts in, but I'm going to go on the buses. Looking at buses, and this is the bus from Coventry to Birmingham city centre, running every 7 minutes, and if anybody's been on it, it's very posh, lovely and clean. As you can see, look at that leather seat. This is really, really good. Lovely seats, not like the buses I've been on when I was at school. You can see the buses are a lot different from what we grew up with. Look better, look cleaner, no graffiti with CCTV, as you can see there.
Where all the drivers will come to book on, regardless of what shift they're on, early, middle or late, because this traffic office is manned from 4 in the morning up until 2 in the morning. So basically manned other than 2 hour period. So the driver will come on, he will book on, the traffic controller will hand him one of these, which is called a running board. On there is the driver's schedule times for where he must depart on what time. So if he's not running early, if he's running late, basically it's all on there. This monitors all our services, basically tells us what buses where. If you want to click on 13s, 20s, 21s, we've got one here, 2166, which is now service 20 in Bedworth Mill Street. So basically it tells real live time where the services are, should we want to know where they are.
4222. Just check on the radio check, Sheldon, thank you.
So as a kid, I always wanted to drive a bus. Now's my chance. I wonder if they'll let me loose. All aboard, ready to drive the fun bus. I'm not sure I can drive this, you know. Tickets, please.
fascinating fact.
Time for some fascinating facts, and it wouldn't be Shedaloogoo without my co-presenter that's over in Ireland, and she sent in some fascinating facts over from Ireland, saying that did you know that Ireland is the only country in the world that has a musical instrument, the harp, as its national symbol. The oldest known harp in existence is housed in Trinity College, Dublin. It dates back to at least 1300, and also Ireland is the third largest island in Europe and the 20th largest in the world. Thank you for those fascinating facts from Ireland about Ireland. And on here, hopefully I've got my final facts for you. Did you know in 1567 the man who's said to have the world's largest beard died after he tripped over his beard running away from a fire? And well, that's such a shame. And also, just as one final one, that did you know that months that begin on a Sunday will always have Friday the 13th? That is this episode's fascinating facts.
Where are they now?
And so, where are they now has looked at, in the very first episode I think we looked, or was it the second episode, we looked at the Teletubbies, and of course they're back on our screens. So how about looking at something that, well, from 22 years ago, when Saved by the Bell was on our TV screens, and if you're of a certain age you will remember the cast very vividly, and they will be appearing somewhere on the screen. And of course the star of the show was Mark Paul Glossier, or as you would know him as Zach Morris. And well, looking less blonde now, more brunette. He, although he has his new look, still looks great as Zach. And yeah, he's been working on American shows called Franklin and Bash. He played Bash with another former 90s stars, Brecklin Mayer, and he's also set to star in an American NBC show, People Are Talking, which came out this autumn in America. Everyone remembers Kelly Kapowski, and she was the one that looked the bee's knees. Well, she went on after Saved by the Bell to star in Beverly Hills 90210 for a few series as Valerie Malone, who was very different from the Kelly that we knew in Saved by the Bell. In 2005 she married Brady Smith, and the couple have 2 children, and some of her more recent works include Misty the Mermaid, Jake and the Neverland Pirates, and she's also played a character in a show called White Collar, or is it a film? I don't know. And she runs her own website where she gives us lots of tips about food, lifestyle, and even ice cream recipes. Then there was, of course, AC Slater. Oh, one cool dude. And since his days as Slater, Mario Lopez has been one busy chap. He's been on Nip Tuck, The Bold and the Beautiful, that appeared on Channel 5, and Pacific Blue. He's best known these days as portraying himself as a television host. He's been also host on a program called Extra since 2007, and he's hosted programs Piper and Paxton in Chicago, and also well, that's a pop-up baby boutique, and he does that with his wife. So he's married to Courtney Mazza, so he's kept himself busy since Saved by the Bell. Jessie Spano, I don't know if I've pronounced that right, but you know me for pronouncing names. She starred in a program which known in America as Showgirls back in the mid-90s, and she appeared in season 17 of Dancing with the Stars. And Sadly, she didn't do too well on that. She was voted out pretty early. She came 6th in that. But she stuck with dancing, and she's recently been rehearsing in the studio with some of the So You Can Dance crew. And she runs a website also called Ask Elizabeth, which is a resource to help teenage girls. So she's been busy with her little solo projects. Everyone remembers the rather geeky Samuel Screech Powers. Surely he must have gone on to good things. Dustin Diamond, well, he hasn't had such a glamorous career since Saved by the Bell. In 2006 he released his own sex tape, and it was called Screeched, Saved by the Smell. Probably not a good title for a tape. And later he went on to claim that it was a body double that was used in the tape. We don't believe you. In 2009 he released Behind the Bell, which was his point of view and stories from the programme of Saved by the Bell, and unfortunately they were very unflattering to his co-stars. And so in 2014 at Christmas time he got involved in a bar brawl, got into a fight where he apparently stabbed somebody, and in June this year, 2015, he was sentenced to 4 months in jail for the incident. So he's probably actually behind bars now. So Saved by the Bars, I think, is the story there. And I liked Lisa Turtle in the programme. She was lovely. Well, what's she been up to in the past decade or so? Well, she's she hasn't actually been acting very much. She's appeared in a few television guest spots in programmes that we wouldn't know over here in the UK, Robot Chicken and The Comeback Kids. Well, since 2010 she has released 3 books, and so that's kept her busy. What about Mr. Richard Belding, the teacher, the head teacher? Oh yes, well, he actually he's been on DJing, he's been doing events in Vegas, I think it was, and he's been also acting in numerous TV shows, movies, even videos. So Mr. Belding has kept himself busy, and he's got upcoming work including My BFF, Beauty Mark, Holly Jingles and Clyde 3D, and that's where he's appearing as Santa Claus. So the cast have kept themselves busy since their Saved by the Bell days, but if you're of a certain age you will remember that was a great programme to watch. So who knows, they could be back on our screens. If the Teletubbies can come back, then so can the cast from Saved by the Bell. Talking of characters, and some of them we don't see anymore, here's our final David Blaine Me episode. I'm David Blaine Me, and I'm a botanist. Nice bomb. I'm David Blaine Me, and I'm locked out of my house, and I'm getting the blame for it. People often say to me, David, you've got something in your beard, like a pen. And I say, that's where I put it. Or a data stick that I lost 20 years ago when I was discovering rainforests in Africa. And things fall out of my beard like a foxy's grassia mint, which is very close to nature. And inside also, as I rummage round, I can find things like my front door key. I am to blame. I'm David Blaine Me with my front door key. I'm a botanist.
Shedaloogoo joke of the day.
Are you paying attention? Are you awake? then we have some jokes for you. Gail, of course, has been sending jokes over the weeks, and her final jokes for Shedaloogoo episode 6 is this. She said, "My neighbour came around knocking the door at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know it's very inconsiderate of him, well, to come at such an ungodly hour. Lucky for him, I was still playing the drums. Have you heard of the new beer from Australia called Kangaroo? Apparently, you can really taste the hops." Oh, Gail, they are terrible, but we love you and it's just as well. Meanwhile, I've got one last joke for you, and the world's worst conductor was directing his band during a practice. Let me have I got it somewhere around, here we go. We'll use this. Was directing his band during a practice for an upcoming concert. Halfway through the first act, he was directing with wild abandonment when out of his hand his baton flew and impaled itself in the eye of the flute player, killing her instantly. The police arrived very shortly afterwards and they ruled the case an accident. So the following week, the conductor starts the practice again, and well, during the second act, his baton flew through the air, impaled itself into her, killed her instantly. The police arrived and after consideration ruled that the case was an accident. The following week, the practice conductor, we'll use this, again lost control during a moment whilst the music was playing in the third act, and out of his hand flew the baton, this time, oh dear, hitting the trumpet player in the eye and killing him instantly. And after the police arrived, they just couldn't believe that this was an accident. So they tried the conductor, and after finding him guilty, they decided they were going to sentence him to death, putting him in the electric chair. So they strapped him in to the electric chair for his death. The operator flicked the switch. Nothing happened. So they tried again. Nothing happened. Well, frustrated, the warden this time demanded that the chair operator explain what the problem was, to which the chair operator explained, well, everyone knows he's a bad conductor.
Shedaloogoo lyrics.
So you feel misunderstood? Well, baby, have I got news for you. On being used, I could write a book, but you don't want to hear about it. Well, because I've been losing sleep, and you've been going cheap. And she ain't worth half of me, it's true. And now, I'm telling you.
Phew, look at that view.
This is the part where I just pick up the camera and we go outside and check the weather. But we're going to do something a little bit different this time because it is the last Shedaloogoo and we are in the process, hopefully, of moving out of the shed into the house. Thought it'd be good to go and look inside the house, find out how that's got on. So join me. Well, outside it's another grey day, but let's speed up. View, look at that view. So a much better view, and hopefully before winter really does set in, be inside the house. Now we've got central heating. Oh yes, bought the lights. We've even got switches. Hopefully a fireplace and something to go in there. Just gotta wait for the kitchen. A few wires here and there. Oh, and a not quite private toilet. That was view. Look at the view. We're running back in. I don't even know what's coming up next. I know it's something that it's going to be something completely bonkers. It is on my yeah, okay, right. In fact, coming up on the screen now is our final location in Shedaloogoo. It's a very famous one. Can you name this location? There it is on the screen, and you get a bonus point if you can name the country this location comes from, and another bonus point if you can name the city.
SOTD, story of the day.
Since we've been out and about on the buses, as it were, we thought that today's story of the day would be traffic related, and there is a lesson and a moral from today's story, that if you have to go to court for a speeding fine, the tip for today, well, would come from this story from Vermont in America, where a driver clocked up a staggering 112 miles an hour on the interstate there in Vermont, and he was heading to court to take care of a speeding ticket. So speeding on the way to court. Well, trooper that caught him said that the 33-year-old man from West Hartford in Connecticut was also weaving in and out of traffic as he raced towards the courtroom, and as he was going there, travelling down there on the interstate 89, he was pulled over, and of course the speed limit for that interstate section was 65 miles an hour. So the driver had been charged with excessive speeding and negligent operation. So the moral of the story is that if you are prosecuted for speeding, do not speed down the interstate or the motorway or the autobahn. Take your time, chill out, watch a bit of Shedaloogoo, and all will be well. That's our story of the day. It is our conclusion to Shedaloogoo, and we've tried to fit, let's take these off, we've tried to fit a lot into these programs, and it's the first time I think I've made such a long program. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you've endured all 6 episodes, well done to you. You may remember we started off at the very beginning with a bit of keep fit, and the plan was, what I was going to do was each week show you the progress. Well, I can tell you I did not keep it up. I made lots of videos, but somebody said that they were a bit too much, so that was dropped after episode 1, and well, I've kept my tummy for winter. You missed this little excerpt coming up because we didn't show our trip to the grammar school, but I like this.
So suck on that lollipop, Grandpa, and put your false teeth back in,
Hopefully
Grandma.
You did too. And we wanted to go out and about to lots of different locations. Unfortunately, we had so much packed into the show. When we introduced things like the roving reporter and things like that, we didn't have time to bring in another character that I wanted to bring in, which was Bearded Schoolboy. Sadly, he never made it into Shedaloogoo. And we also wanted to go out and about into Pekachua, or whatever it's called,
and
have a bit of this.
That's his name. Gary Madlett's name, that's the whole thing.
Sorry, we didn't have time. We looked at the buses, but we didn't have time to look at the trains. So, who knows, maybe one day Shedaloogoo will return. But as winter is here now, I'm going to hibernate for a time. Hopefully I won't get abducted by aliens. Maybe I'll do a little tubby dance. But I think it's just fitting to end the programme with goodbye from little Flo that did her rendition of Shedaloogoo. So it's goodbye.
What do we do in Shedaloogoo? What do we do in Shedaloogoo?
What did he do in Shedaloogoo? What did he say in Shedaloogoo? What would you do in Shedaloogoo? What would you say in Shedaloogoo?